Welcome to another episode of the Silver Savage Podcast. BK here again with you, and I actually have notes today, so this should be a little more organized. I'm also at the studio, so audio and video should be better. So all considered, we're in a good place. So I'm going to start by apologizing for not dropping a podcast last week. I am super sorry. I am not getting out of the habit. I was just at SHOT Show the all prior week and just ran out of time. Not that it's an excuse. I'm going to do better in the future, but just so you know why that happened. SHOT Show, people ask me, what is SHOT Show all about? And the reality is the easiest explanation I can give you is if you thought of, let's say, 5 to 10 football stadiums just filled with ARs. And I'm saying that because it seems like every person and their mother decided to manufacture an AR. And for the life of me, I don't know what the differences are between them. I mean, some of them are pretty obvious between direct impingement and piston, and some of them the sizes or whatever. But the reality is an AR is an AR. And when you have so many companies just making ARs, you're trying to start thinking, who's jumping on a bandwagon here? What are the differences and why should I go with one and not the other? And luckily, I wasn't at SHOT Show looking for ARs, so I was in a good place. But anyways, that is the easiest explanation I can give you to what SHOT Show is all about. I did spend a good amount of time with Stroop Knives. So if you haven't checked Stroop Knives, obviously Chris Stroop and his crew make the Masada knife, the Desert Fox, the one I designed. So I think they're great. I think they're awesome. I had a good time spending time with him, his wife Megan, and their team that was there. And seeing how busy they are made me happy. Spent a good amount of time with IWI. You guys know I teach some of their classes for them. Obviously a big fan of their products, between the Tavor X95 platform, the Masada pistol, which is now my go-to. So spend some time with them, seeing some of the stuff that they're doing. And Ferro Concept. So Ferro Concept, they make carriers and some tactical gear and attachment. They were across from Stroop Knives, so it was convenient. I do own Ferro Concept carriers, and I use them at times. I alternate between those and some other brands. But it was great meeting the guys that work at Ferro, knowing or meeting the owner of the company and talking to some of the designers and talking to some of the marketing people. So overall, it was a good show for me, make some good contacts and interacted with people I care about. So I can't complain. I do want to point out my t-shirt. I don't know if you guys can see. Okay, obviously that's me on the t-shirt, so that is a plus. We have 3 versions of it. This one was obviously the shoot one. If you're not seeing this, by the way, go to YouTube, you'll be able to see it. This is the shoot design. We have 2 more. One of them says lift, where it's me doing a deadlift, and the other one says fight, where it's me striking. But the idea is that are the 3 components that I think a warrior should have, right? It's not always about the gun. You should also know how to use your hands, and you should always stay in shape. So I encourage you to go to either the Silver Savage website or the Masada Tactical website. You'll find the shirts on both. You can order them online. They will directly ship and drop at your house. And with that, I think I'm done with all the housekeeping information. So we're going to get into the episode. All right, so today I actually want to talk to you guys about coaching. I know that you guys know that we now have a Silver Savage coaching program, and I'm happy to say we've been doing it for a couple of months now. So we started in December, we're now in February. We have a good amount of people that joined. We did a beta program, and then we started accepting additional people. But I want to talk about coaching in general, not necessarily about the Silver Savage. I will talk about what's unique about the Silver Savage coaching in a minute. But why coaching? And the honest truth is, the simplest answer is you can't do life alone. Life is hard. Life is tough. It throws a lot of challenges your way, anything from personal life and relationship to business, to just fitness and health, whatever it is, okay? You can always use somebody that can give you some feedback. So you need a sounding board, right? You need someone to give you advice if they can and help you navigate life. And that is really where a coach comes in. I'll be honest, I have, off the top of my head, I can tell you at least 3 coaches that I use for different aspects of my life, by the way, right? I have one person that helps me with business. Another one is helping me with media training now, because I'm being approached by some networks. And apparently the first question they ask you is, are you media trained? and I am not. So I sought a coach that would help me with media training, right? I have people help me with my tactical training. Even with my background, I still learn every day, and I have coaches that help me with that. Coaches for marketing, coaches pretty much for anything. And again, if you do not have a coach, you're missing the boat. And if you think you don't need a coach, you are fooling yourself, because we can all benefit from a coach. So as a coach, what I like to tell people is I don't have all the answers, and no coach that values themselves for what they're doing will tell you they have all the answers. That is not the purpose of a coach. A coach is there to help you navigate or avoid some of the pitfalls. The reality is I made a lot of mistakes, and I can probably shorten your curve a little bit. Listen, the bottom line is I don't live your life. I don't go to bed with your wife. I don't raise your kids. I don't know how much money you have in your bank account, right? But I do know all the mistakes that I have made. And I'm pretty sure there's some correlation, okay, between some of the things you're facing and some of the stuff that I have done. And even if it's not the exact same industry, my wife is different than your wife, and my kids are different than your kids, and our financial status can be different. I can still help you see the bigger picture of some things, give you some advice as far as some options, or at the very least tell you, listen, you don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. Let's look for someone that has the answer and seek that professional assistance in that specific field. So a coach will always help you do that, right? So a few people came to me over this past week, actually, which is why I'm doing this podcast today, asking me what is unique about the Silver Savage coaching, or what qualifies me to be a coach, right? And I'm actually going to start with the second question first, because the reality is, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, imposter syndrome is big. Imposter syndrome, every coach that I know that values themselves would have, to a certain extent, an imposter syndrome, right? Because none of us should, in theory, be in a position to tell other people what to do, right? But just to remind you, that is not my goal. My goal is not to tell you what to do. My goal is just to ask you questions that lead you to understand or find out to do what you need to do, right? So that's how it is. I made a shitload of mistakes, as I mentioned earlier, right? Mistakes that I would like for you to avoid. And if I can help you not make some of them, then I did my jobs, right? So everything that I teach is not just theory. It's empirically, realistically stuff that I've done to overcome those obstacles, to grow as a person, as a business owner, right? As a family member. And again, those are lessons I can share. So I'll give you an example. I came to this country in 99. I had literally two suitcases, me and my wife at the time, two suitcases with our clothes in it. I brought my scuba diving gear. I don't know why I thought that would be a wise idea, because it just had in a closet living in Maryland. Not a lot of opportunities to go scuba diving here. And $500, pretty much, that is it. And I was able to, over time, build a business, a big business, right? My own business. I worked for other companies first, and then I went on my own and really made something out of myself, right? So I learned a lot of lessons along that road of how to start a business, right? What do you need? What is just consider stuff you need, but you don't really need, right? How to get the finances to start a business sometimes, right? Because I started with nothing. I did not have any capital to go and invest or even sign an initial list, right? So there's a lot of lessons I learned along the way that I can help others who are starting out, right? That business, at some point, I had to declare bankruptcy, and it wasn't because of financial mistakes. It's actually because of legal stuff. So I was sued for a violation of non-compete, which was complete bullshit, by the way, and I'll tell you that story on a different time if you want. And I don't like being bullied. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And this guy was just decided he has a lot more money than me, so he can take me to court over something I didn't do and drag it long enough, just because he was worried about what I was doing as a business and I was doing it better than he did. Again, not want to be bullied. I fought him in court. The problem is that he had a lot more money and he could stretch it for a while. My attorney at the time gave him a lot of credit and a lot of love, because he came to me and said, I can represent you, but to be honest, you won't be able to pay me. So I'm going to do it all for free. I cannot take on this as a pro bono case, so I'm going to do it for free. But at the end, you're going to have to declare bankruptcy so you don't have to pay my bill. And I did that. We were in court for about 2.5, 3 years. My legal expenses were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars at the end. The other guy ended up dropping it because he realized he cannot you cannot win this fight. And I ended up declaring bankruptcy, which meant that realistically I had no credit. I could not use credit cards. I had to shred the ones I had. Nobody would give me a credit card. My credit score dropped significantly to like the 500s, and I had to start over again. And I did. And I rebuilt the company. My credit score at some point shot back up. I don't have to disclose numbers now, but let's say that I will not get disapproved for any loan I apply to right now. And I built a multi-million-dollar business. And I'm saying multi-million dollars, I'm not kidding. My tax return check that I had to write to the IRS one year was over $200,000. It hurt a lot. It's a big chunk of money. But what that tells you is that the business was doing well enough for me to have to write that big of a check and have the money in my bank account to where I did not need to bat an eye writing that check. So I really was able to build from complete bankruptcy to a multi-million-dollar company. I did see other challenges. Most recently, I had an employee, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say betray me, and cost me $600,000. And that set me back, and I am rebuilding again. So again, from a business standpoint, there's a lot of lessons that I can share, and I can help your company grow, and a lot of pitfalls to avoid. On the personal side, right? So people talk to me about relationships and how can I coach about relationships. You guys know I'm on my 4-5. I always say it's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but honestly, it's not something I hide or shy away from either, because I don't think it's a poor representation of myself. Those who know my ex-wives know the effort I put into every relationship and what were some of the obstacles. So it was never me giving up on a relationship. With that said, I learned something along the way from each one of those relationships. To this day, even on some of the most awful experiences that I had, I am thankful and grateful for those because they taught me a lesson. With my current wife, right, with Tyler, we have a phenomenal relationship, and a lot of it has to do because I knew in advance to pre-handle some of the potential issues that are going to come. Tyler and I had some really deep and sometimes hard conversations talking about what some of those potential issues are going to be and what we need to do in advance in order to avoid them or how to deal with them when they come up. Lessons that I would not have known unless I've been through those prior relationships. And when I work with other people that come to me now and ask me relationship advice, the first thing out of my mind is, are you really asking me for relationship advice? But the second thing is, I understand why, because I can certainly give you some advice. I've been there, I've done that, I made that mistake, and now I can hopefully save you that agony and set your relationship up for better success. Then another one. I used to be fat. When I say fat, really fat, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody. My nickname in grammar school was Titties. It was Titties because I was so fat, I had titties. And I was bullied all the time. I was being made fun of. And it wasn't until I got closer to enlistment day. In Israel, everybody serves. So you start the process at about junior year of high school. So at about my junior year of high school, I'm like, okay, I got to start working out because there's nothing medically wrong with me other than being fat. So I'm going to end up in a combat unit, but I'm going to end up in a shitty combat unit because I am out of shape. I can't try out for any other unit. So I started running. And by running, I started losing weight. And by losing weight, I got more confidence in myself. Girls started noticing, right? It was a positive feedback cycle. So I kept working out. And to the extent that I got so much into fitness that I got certified as a personal trainer, I got certified as a performance nutritionist, I got certified as a martial arts conditioning coach, I got a degree in kinesiology, so really took it to the next level. I worked for years as a personal trainer, so really shifted a 180 from being the out of shape, fat individual to an in shape, strong, athletic individual, right? And the only reason I had a little setback over the past few years is because I had a tumor removed out of my spinal cord where I do not feel my legs. My proprioception is off. I have limited ability of grip in one hand. And yet, even with that, I got back to training. I completely disobeyed my doctor and the rehab protocols that they put to me. And I borrowed from my personal experience and knowledge and rehab myself. And I'll be honest, I am probably in a much better shape than I would have been if I followed medical protocols. Medical protocols nowadays, as we know, are not set necessarily for the best benefit of the patient, but a lot of it is money driven and insurances and so forth. So I think I'm in a much better shape because I followed my own advice. I compete in tactical type games to the extent that we won some of them. We got seconds in some challenges, and I say we because some of them are team challenges. So I can share those skills with a lot of you, right? I can teach you not only how to get in shape, but also being fat myself and going for it. I can relate to the physical and emotional pain that that brings. I can help you deal with it. And I know the journey. I know what are some of the difficulties that people that are out of shape are facing as they're trying to get in shape. And I can help you navigate that because I've done it. Okay. Again, I went from being a victim and by sense of being bullied a lot as a kid. And I don't know if you've been bullied. I hope you haven't. Or if you know someone that has, that leaves a huge emotional scar on you. And to a large extent, a lot of people would say that I overcompensate for it nowadays. I'm overly protective. There's also a lot of things that trigger me because of it. But the reality is that that drove me to a large extent to become the best warrior that I could, right? Because I wanted to protect others, others that were in similar situation to me. Certainly wanted to be able to protect myself. And those skills that I learned in the military, I made it to a very elite unit, one that very few make it. So take someone with really low self-esteem and confidence that is being bullied all the time, and now transform that into an operator in a unit that a lot of people try into, but very few make it in, right? And then you learn further skills and you grow with it. Skills that I use to this day. So a lot of things that I do in my coaching and my training, coaching platform aside, if we talk just about teaching self-defense or the tactical disciplines of personal training, right? A lot of the skills from mindset to actual physical skills are results of that transformation that I've been through. My own journey as an operator, if you will. So no, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, but I did make a lot of mistakes and I did live a pretty experience-filled life, right? That I can help you deal with some of those, right? And just to be honest, I still have my struggles. I still have my own difficulties. One of the reasons I have my own coaches, right? My relationship isn't perfect, Tyler will tell you, but I navigate it better and I can help others because of my experiences. I still go through challenges with my own fitness, right? Some of it is because of my medical issues, but part of it is just mental. And in my mind, I'm still a fat kid. So I can help you navigate that. So no, I don't have all the answers, but because I've been through all of that, that is precisely why I think I can help you. I will be honest, I still have an imposter syndrome, and I mentioned that earlier, right? I think every coach that I know that values themselves still has it. If you come across somebody that will tell you that they have all the answers and they don't have that imposter syndrome, I think they're lying to themselves, they're lying to you. There's something wrong about that, right? That cockiness that isn't really productive in a sense, right? So I always approach every person that asks for my advice with a lot of humility and a lot of gratitude for the fact that they're trusting in me to help them, right? So I will say, with all my years teaching from personal training, I worked, just so you guys know, with some professional athletes. So the Baltimore Ravens back in the 2000-2001 Super Bowl winning season. I worked with some of them. I work with a lot of professional warriors, obviously SWAT officers, special operators. I work with stay-at-home moms, those soccer moms who just want to stay in shape, right? I teach anything from 5-year-old kids up to 70-year-old adults, right? Anything from fitness and self-defense to tactical disciplines. So I've done it on the official side for a long while. Unofficially, people asking for my advice for years, right? And I still have an imposter syndrome. That's the bottom line. Like, I probably will always have an imposter syndrome, but I'm putting it out there because by me making it audible in a sense and having you guys understand where I'm coming from, hopefully you guys can appreciate a little more what I'm doing. So what is unique about the Silver Savage coaching platform? You guys have been listening to the Silver Savage podcast for over 2 years. You know some of the skills that we want to pass along, and the coaching is just an extension of that, right? As you heard me say in the past, I believe there are four pillars to what I call a complete human being, specifically a complete savage, right? The first one is obviously the warrior skills. If I want to be a savage, if I want to be complete, whole, I want to be able to be a warrior. So it starts with fitness. So one of the things that we stress is working out, nutrition, taking care of our body and ourselves, and obviously the warrior skills, specifically anything from fighting to and self-defense to firearms to trauma care, right? Everything that would fill that category. So that would be one pillar. The second pillar is no warrior is complete if they don't take care of their mind, right? So body and physicality is one, but the mind is another one, right? So one thing that it would be on is anything from meditation and breathing exercises, right, to continuous learning, right? Our coaching clients have monthly reading assignments that we do as a team, but they also are encouraged to learn daily on their own. And we guide them as to how to do it and where to find what they need to actually keep learning and studying. And I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it right now. So that's the second pillar, right? The mind or our own personal development. The third one is relationships. I'm a huge proponent of relationships. That's something that I get from one of my coaches. You heard me talk about it in the past. It's something I encourage all our clients to do all the time is invest in relationships, from personal relationships to professional relationships. If I don't live in a world by myself in a vacuum, the world is filled with other human beings, and I need to foster those relationships if I want to be able to grow. So relationship is the third pillar. And the fourth and last pillar is actually business, right? So we live in a society where if I'm unsuccessful as a person, right, and successful being monetarily speaking, I cannot take care of myself. I cannot take care of my loved ones, right? I will be depressed. I'll struggle all the time, and that will affect everything else I'm trying to do in life. So if I am a failure, business-wise, right, I'll be a failure in everything else. So those are the four pillars. Again, my warrior skill, which is my body, and my actual warrior savage skills, right? Our mind, our relationships, and our business. So we concentrate on all those four. And the way we do it is we take a two-pronged approach, right? One of them is obviously the coaching. So there's weekly calls where I get on a call and everybody kind of listens in and chimes in and asks questions. I also do some one-on-one coaching with the client. So I help you kind of find your own goals and set up your own trajectory and work with you on that, right? But the second element is what's considered to be a mastermind approach, right? You're in a group, in a community with other savages that hold you accountable, right? You're going to post stuff and they're going to comment on it and they're going to seek advice, which you can provide, but you're going to need advice that they can provide. And overall, as a community, we enrich each other. It's a super supportive community, which makes it a lot of fun. I don't think anybody at any point felt like they weren't either contributing or being appreciated for what they are bringing to the table, which is really awesome for me as the coach and the moderator of the group to see as an outsider a little bit. So those are kind of like the two-pronged approach that we do. So you're going to be held accountable, right? That's the other thing. So aside from giving you tools and guidance throughout, there's a variety of tools that we use. We hold you accountable to them, right? So there's goals that you have to meet, and if you don't meet them, then you get your ass ripped by me. That's the bottom line, right? So that's it. That's in a nutshell about coaching. I believe wholly and strongly that everybody should have a coach or several coaches, to be honest, and on different aspects of your life. If the Silver Savage coaching is something that resonates with you, that makes sense, by all means, please feel free to check us out. You can get more information by going to silversavage.com, the same website we use for this podcast. If you're ready to sign up, you can go to silversavagecoaching.com. You can always also be redirected to it from silversavage.com. Just click on coaching. But that will take you directly to the login page, and you can join over there and become part of our community. So with that said, okay, trying to keep our podcast a little bit shorter than it used to be. Just want to thank everybody that has been following us for a while. I certainly want to once more acknowledge everybody that's been sharing it, everybody that's been commenting it on it, and please keep doing so. I believe we add some value, and if you think we add some value to you or can add value to others, please share this podcast with them. And as always, stay savage.